Welcome to the first ever episode of Under Construction. My name is Lamlela, and here we're going to be sitting with young entrepreneurs, young actors, young influencers, people in the industry. Under construction, these people are about to pop. I'm telling you, every single person we're going to be having the opportunity to sit down and interview, to sit down and talk to, there's about to pop. Today we've got none other but Sibusiso Mzolo. I was under strict instructions not to say Sibusiso, but to say Sibusiso Mzolo. Sibusiso, thank you very much for joining us today. Sibusiso is an entrepreneur. He's an all-around creative. He's a brand manager, a content creator. I can go on and on and on. Thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it and we're honored.
Yo, what's up? What's up, guys? Yeah, as Sis Lam just said, my name is Sibusiso Mzolo. Sibusiso, not Sibusiso. She correctly said it. Yeah, and it's great to be here, man. Shout outs to you guys for the platform, and yeah, adding my 2 cents to whatever you guys are trying to build over here.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. So Sibusiso, right before we start, please tell us just about yourself a little bit. Who are you? Your background?
So Sibusiso Mzolo, aka Sisostyles, aka Madiba, aka Brian. Well, I'm born and bred in Soweto. My parents, both of them are from the villages. My dad is from KZN, like in the village, proper village. My mom is from Eastern Cape, like village. So 2 village people came to Joburg. Then they met, then they had me and my sister. So yeah, I grew up in Soweto. So, went to school into like these Model C schools. Fortunate enough that my parents could afford to take me to these like cool schools where I got really influence from sort of, Western culture. Then I come home and then I'm in Soweto. Then in the holidays, I go to like the village. So I'm getting influences from quite a lot of places. And that then informs how I then live my life, Also a Christian. I'm a firm believer in Christ. So that's now has sort of then overtaken all the other influences. I mean, all the other things are still influential. I mean, I still take a lot from it, but now, led by Christ, led by God, led by his spirit. Yeah, I think that's sort of an intro. I think you ask whatever is missing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the fact that you, from the onset, mentioned that your parents aren't necessarily from city life, aren't necessarily from Johannesburg. Because what many people don't understand is when you're the first to branch off from the narrative, you have to break so much ground. Parents always meant we came to the city so you could go to a good school, so you could get a job. Yeah. And I know, like, we're gonna get into some of the stuff that you've done, but then to quit your job, to say no, I'm pursuing something completely different is sure. I mean, did it shake your house? What happened? What was the reaction?
Yeah, it did. It did. It did, man. And I think for a while, my parents weren't okay with it. It's not even about okay, but they weren't feeling good about it, And I mean, understandably so, because firstly, I'm like the firstborn, so they like so much has been invested in me. So it was hard seeing it in the house, in the house, pressure, so yeah, it wasn't a nice, I mean, I think at this point, they've kind of realized, okay, this guy is kind of going for it. Yeah, so yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing.
I would imagine. And so your brand 22 Grateful, the name, very significant. Please tell us about that.
So 22 was the age. So 22 firstly is a clothing brand. Like the simplest form, it's a clothing brand. Looking to get into actually premium, I'll call it premium. soon heading into the luxury space as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So the name 22 basically was the year or the age that I was when I rededicated my life to God. Or, actually, I've always been a Christian since I was young. But I think, kind of lost my way. But then when I was at the age of 22, I didn't decide at age 22, but I kind of had an encounter with God
Okay.
at church. So I remember very specifically, I was still like 22 years old. It was January prayer week. And so, yeah, at that age, a lot changed. I think more than anything, I got closer to God. Then um, I got a clear picture, or at least a clearer picture of where my life is going. My self-esteem got back. I had low self-esteem. When I grew up, when I was growing up, I had a very high self-esteem, but I think I lost it somewhere, and that got back. So a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I got back when I rededicated my life to Christ, and so then I named the label 22 because of that. And then the grateful is to just sort of a tagline. Forever grateful is actually forever grateful. And also how I've spelt it, it's not grateful as GRATE. People always ask me, why do you spell it like that? I'm like, no, I spelt it forever grateful as in great. So I'll be forever great in a sense of whatever I will accomplish in my life will forever be great in a sense, or I believe that, right? And then forever grateful, secondly, is me being forever grateful to God for the second opportunity to live my life in a way that pleases Him. Grateful to be at a young age to understand vision and where my life is going. And it's been what, 10 years, I think? I'm 32 now.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's awesome. When I saw it,
Am I
was
right?
like,
Is it 10 years? Wait, is it 10 years, right? I was 22, I'm
22 to
32.
32.
Is it 10 years?
22.
It is.
It's 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's safe. It's 10 years. No, it's 10 years.
No, it's not. It's 8. If it was 10, it
Wait.
was 34. Am I right? 2. Oh, 32. Yeah,
Oh.
actually, yeah, it's 10. It's 10. Sorry, guys. Yeah, my maths is bad, guys. I
I
did
know
maths
I
literacy.
did maths light, but I'm sure about that.
Yeah,
But I'm
I
not
also
really.
I also did maths light, so
No,
I was trying to.
when I saw 22, when I saw 22 forever grateful, this I was like, wow, I was completely blown because I'm like, okay, cool. I understand the 22 because I dug up on you a little bit. And then for the great and full, I was like, wow, forever great, forever grateful,
Yeah.
and forever full, because your full is in parentheses. So I was like, oh my goodness. So you're always fulfilled. Like you're always, I was like, I was blown. I was like, ah. And I was going wild about it, man. I was telling people, I was like, guys, I'm telling you, but this was creative. So now I just want to find out, we're in this moment where, because you launched your brand last year officially around Feb, right?
Yeah. Woo, my timing. Yeah. Then the
Take us
COVID
back to that
happened.
moment. Pardon?
Then the COVID happened a few weeks later.
Yeah, hey man, we're gonna talk. Actually, I really want to. We're gonna go into that. But take us back to this month of Feb.
Yeah.
You're about to leave everything that you know, and you're gonna step into, entrepreneurship. How do you, as an individual, decide? Because I know you're also multi-talented. I mean, you DJ a little bit. How do you decide what of yourself you're going to put on the forefront to introduce yourself to the world as? Because the stigma, man, like it doesn't matter where you go. That's the way you introduce yourself to people will be what will be lasting. It's how we'll always remember you. How do you choose being multi-talented, multifaceted, that, okay, I'm going to introduce myself like this to the world?
So I think for me, it's not really. It wasn't really like a. So firstly, I left my job. There was a reason. There was a more specific reason why I left my job, but I then took it as an opportunity to kind of go out for myself and do what I need to do. As to what I choose or how I chose, I think it just, I wouldn't say ease of execution, but what was executable at that point in time. Because I do have other things that I want to do ultimately. The DJ thing, I DJed a while ago, like for about 5-6 years. Then I left. 2013, I stopped DJing. Then sort of came back now. But I think for me, the simplest way to answer that question would be, what is executable? What can you do? You know, when God asks Moses, I think, when you ask him what is in your hand, you know, literally. So for me, it was literally that, like, what do you have? If this is not going well at this point, what else? What do you have in your hand? And literally, I took then whatever resources that I had, I put it into starting the clothing label, and I just started, you know. And I think there's no simple way to, I mean, or rather, it's not that complex for me, you know, because now that I've started the clothing, I actually started the podcast. Okay, there's something. Okay, we're talking about the label, but there's a YouTube channel that I have with my friend. Even that, we just like started, like, yo, dog, let's start. Even the DJing, I was like, okay, I think now it's time to bring it back. So it's just whatever is executable at that point in time. If you can start everything at once, for you. But if you can't, choose what's close, choose what you feel you can be consistent with, and then you go for that. So that's how I made my decision. Don't know if it makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. Actually, now moving on into the podcast that you started with your friend, is it Taps?
Yeah, Tapelo Luduma. Shout out to my boy. Yeah.
So how did that come about? What was the process behind that podcast specifically?
So the name of our YouTube channel, network. So the name of our YouTube channel / podcast is called You Don't Say. Basically, it's a direct translation of Awusatsho Smiley, you know. This is maybe like, you know, Awusatsho is an expression that we use when someone tells you like interesting stuff. It's like, yo, dog, you know that Lems is dating too. So it's like, Awusatsho.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Guys, disclaimer. Disclaimer. These are not the views of the chat. These are not this is not factual. Please, thank you. Back to you, my brother.
Sorry. So that's where the name comes from. But of course, the idea was born first. So the point, You Don't Say, comes from a point of. So it was born when, who's this lady? Why am I forgetting her name? This is so embarrassing. But when the height of GBV, in a sense, when we had that first surge of social media, when we had that first sort of marching in 2016 or 2017, I don't remember. It was not Uyinene. There was another lady. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. Wow, this is bad. But anyway, so it was like, oh yes, no, actually it was not a lady, it was Men Are Trash. Yes, now I remember. Yes, it was then when the Men Are Trash label, yes, when Men Are Trash, the hashtag, the label started. So it was not necessarily a lady. So yes, I'm fine, guys. So when Men Are Trash started to trend, Tapelo and I, we were like, yo, dog, we didn't understand, firstly, we didn't understand the label. So we didn't like the label. And we kind of, in our little corners, we fought, like, no, you know. And then when we kind of researched the label as to where the label comes from, why is this label given to the guys? Then we understood, okay, there's a whole movement here. And then we felt like, and then as we did more research, we found out that so many outlets or so many movements or so many shows or so much content is produced to empower women and to educate women. And we found that there's an Amachita, there's nothing, or there's not much content there's not much content out there that is, number one, educating Amachita, number two, calling out Amachita, number three, talking about mental health. So there's there's a list, you know. And then we thought, like, yo, dog, let's start a show where we can have a conversation about all of these things so that we can at least at least as Amachi, that we can try to put something out there that is positive. And this is us not necessarily fighting men are trash, but saying, okay, we can do better, and this is us doing better. So we started the show, and it starts in 2016. No, we meet in 2016 in Tapelo because we're working together. And then I believe in 2018 or end of 2017, we record our first show, and then we went live. So we've been doing that ever since.
Wow, man, that is absolutely beautiful. I love spaces that create room for conversation. And I really believe like your YouTube show / podcast really creates a space for conversation to be had. I found some of the biggest issues I always have is when there's protests or when there's a riot or when something's trending, people are either way too emotionally invested to be able to sit down and have a conversation, or they blame rather than try and find a solution. And I'm not saying that either party isn't wrong or there isn't someone to blame, but I think in order to build forward, finding a solution is much better than sitting down and pointing, fingers at each other. Oh, but you did this, so that makes you guilty. And so big ups to you guys for that, man. It's absolutely beautiful. I am enjoying it. I watched a couple episodes and I'm really enjoying just the space for conversation that it carries.
And I think it has helped both Tapelo and I to have like an even more profound understanding of gender, of what women are actually going through. Like in my life, like daily, I'm so cognizant of how I interact with women. And it's thanks to us being provoked by the hashtag, and us, instead of reading, kind of took time to understand where it came from, and then being able to create a bit of content, and then also it changed how we live our daily life, and I mean, we're not perfect, but most of the time we are cognizant in how we address women, the labels like that we no longer use, like just not touching, because we, as a machita, we like hugging or, just respecting someone's space, so and I think that's been something that beyond content, it has really changed our lives in how we interact with women.
Wow, man, that is wow. Yeah, no, that's super awesome.
Yeah.
At this point, we're like, okay, Mujita, you've got fingers in many different parts, and that's super awesome. And then you're I think all around, you're creative. Even in the fact that you're able to see an issue and then pursue not just the solution, but how can I make content out of this? So the question I just quickly want to go to next, individuals who are sitting and listening and watching going, yeah, but Nami, I also have things I'd like to say. How does one move from just thinking to actually executing and creating the content, and not just, being a creative and settling there? And just a quick side note, if you haven't yet liked, shared, or subscribed, please do subscribe to this page and then click the like and the share button, and then send it to your grandmama, send it to your mama, send it to your mama's friends, your aunties. Everybody needs to hear this. I'm telling you, each and every single person that's coming up on Under Construction is about to pop, and you want to be part of it. You want to be one of those people who are like, I knew them best. Now I knew that. Me and so go way back. You want to be part of those people, and this is the opportunity to do that. So like, share, and subscribe. So just how does one transition from being a creative to actually being a content creator?
You just do it, eh? Because I'm thinking, there's no fancy answer to it. I'm thinking back to how I started everything. You just do it, and I think with everyone, I was actually having a chat with someone while I was driving back, and I said to her, "Listen, you just have to do it. Look, you risk criticism every time you open your mouth. Whether you're sharing an idea with your friend, whether you are telling someone, for instance, if we both watched The Matrix right now, both of us were gonna say different things. We were sitting together watching the same movie, but both of our opinions about the movie will be different. And trust me, both of us will have some sort of criticism in how you depicted the whole movie. So whatever you put out is your opinion, especially as a creative. I think as creatives, not to take away from anything else, I mean, from the engineering side of things or for the accountants, with as a creative, there's a whole, everything you do is narrative, right? There's a story or there's a message in whatever you're trying to do. And trust me, whatever you put out there will have criticism. If like, yo, dog, your camera is so whack, why don't you use this camera? Yo, dog, the audio is whack, why don't you do this? Ah, dog, you should have did this way. Oh man. So I think what I've learned, what I've taught myself is to take criticism, filter it through whatever sort of, because I've kind of created a thing in my head in how to filter what people say to me. Or take whatever the people are saying, see the validity of it. If it's valid, then you take it, then you use it. If it's not valid, you chuck it away. And I mean, I don't take for granted the anxiety that comes with producing and putting your stuff out there and people criticizing it. I know people kind of, it hurts. I mean, it hurts, it does. I mean, I'm such a feeling person, sort of, not emotional, but emotional. Yeah, emotional, but not emotional. Yeah, I feel a lot. So when someone is going to criticize my stuff, it hits. But fortunately, I've created a sort of a filter that I can say, okay, it's cool. So if you have an idea, for instance, if you have a YouTube idea, if you're going to be speaking to yourself, use your cell phone, right? If you're going to have two people, then, you know, try to buy some microphones. And I know now I'm speaking from in terms of finances. If you're gonna have like 4 people on the show, like fast meet, our stuff is like completely different. So we had to invest in a camera, we had to invest in microphones, and even the stuff that we currently have is not the best, but we still put out work. We still put it out. We know the script. We know, I mean, there are guys, I have some guys who are sound engineers, who are my friends from church, are sound engineers. And we have guys who are in the industry who are creating content that is on DSTV. And they'll tell you, yo, bro, why your mics like that? Why does your sound so pop? But we still create because we wanna put whatever we want to put out there. So you just have to be brave, man. You really have to be brave. Just take it as if your crew is chilling. We've got to go to taxi, we've got to go to doing, and you're excited to tell them something. Yo, guys, Lambs is dating Tuso. It's like, what? Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Cool. Nah, no problem. No, there's no problem here, John. There's no problem.
Like, yo. So it's like anytime you open your mouth, you risk offending someone, number one. You risk being offended yourself because someone will give you a rebuttal. So your ideas are going to be received exactly like that. If you're going to say to us, yo, I think the sky is purple. But over time, if you keep punting, if you keep pushing, say, oh guys, the sky is purple, the sky is purple, the sky is purple. You know, just to maybe enforce this in a practical way. I was talking to, I have a privilege of having a relationship with one of the guys from DC's Lifestyle. DC's Lifestyle is like a Soweto brand, born in Soweto. It's a great local brand. It's doing extremely well. So I had a conversation with one of the guys, the creative director, and he said to me, dude, you must define what you want to do or what you want your brand to do. He says, if you look at Ricky Rick, when he started the whole thing of being this luxurious guy, like wearing luxurious brands, like him being like, you know, the Sibusiso thing, like him being the cotton king.
Yeah.
When he started that thing, a lot of people thought he was out of his mind. Even the industry guys thought he was out of his mind. Like, then at some point, I'm like, Rick, are you doing music or fashion? What's going on? But he punted it and he did it. And yeah, but he did it and he did it and he did it. For years, he did it. Criticism. But right now, Ricky Rick, when you talk about fashion, when you talk about luxurious fashion, when you talk about style, when you talk about someone who dresses like high up there, Ricky Rick is there. So guys, just put it out there, execute, find ways to and you're gonna have to be creative in how you execute. You're gonna have to learn how to edit video. Fortunately, I have a background in audio, but I had to learn how to edit video. I have to learn how to do graphics. I had to learn how to cut it. You have to learn. You have to learn. YouTube, ask questions. Yeah. So, but just do it.
Just do
Just
it.
do it. Otherwise,
Sibusiso Mzolo for that Nike promo, everyone. Just do it. No, man, that is actually, I think for so many creative or entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, all ever come back to that one point of just doing it. Now I know that once we spoke just on the external pressures or the criticism that can come externally, but then there's also anxiety and nervousness that's internal. And so then the next question is just, one, I understand that we need to funnel everything that's coming from the outside in, but how do I deal with me? How to deal with my internal battle of, is this work good enough to put it out there? Like, I'm understanding you telling me, put it out there, but now it's like, I don't feel like this is good enough. What do I do then?
yeah, that one. Yeah, that one also is a thing, man. So my process, I have a process in how I do things. So I've said, there's that very, firstly, there's ideation, right? Where you kind of think of an idea or an idea comes to you. And then it's exciting. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make yellow caps. Yeah. And then tomorrow you wake up and it's like, actually don't. That idea was weak. You know, and you quickly have to get used to that. But the nice thing about that is that once you kind of think of an idea, when an idea comes, this is what I do. I write it down on my phone, on my notes, and then I flesh it out as much as I possibly can. So I'm like, okay, where did this idea come from? Okay, I saw a yellow cap in a taxi, and that guy's yellow cap is so cool. Then I write down, okay, the guy was in a taxi, and probably the reason why this is so cool is because the sun was hitting it in a certain way. And then I write it down, and it's like, nice. Then tomorrow morning, I'm like, oh, this is work, dog. But here's then what happens. Because I explored the whole idea and I realized it's bad, I can discard it. Or sometimes I just put it away. Then what that happens, it creates a new, it kind of moves out of the way, and then another idea will come. So sometimes for me, most of my ideas, I don't sit down. Let me say I don't sit down. Most of my ideas come when I'm doing something.
Okay.
And then they will come, and then I will explore the idea in whatever way I explore. And when I say explore, I'm writing down how it makes me feel. That's what I'm saying. So I write down what it makes me feel. I write down what it makes me like, okay, is it something from my past, or is it something that I hope to achieve? And I write it down, and then I review it. And when I review it, if it still makes me excited, then I'm like, okay, there's something here. And then I explore it further. Probably sometimes that's like a week later, then I explore it further. And if it still excites me, then I know, okay, there's something here. And then when that happens, then I have to then give it a structure. Okay, school, what are you trying to communicate with this idea? My first job was full-time dreamer. Full-time dreamer basically comes from, it's such a global idea. It's such a big idea. Everyone is a dreamer, and everyone is dreaming full-time, whether they see it or not. Some people pursue their dreams full-time, but some people dream of their dreams every day of their lives, but they don't do anything. So full-time dreamer is a label. So a full-time dreamer is a label that everyone is wearing, whether they see it or not. So that's like, what? That's a crazy idea, you know? I'm snap. And but how it came to me, I was just like chilling or whatever. Then I came and then I executed it. So here's what I know I went around in circles. But what I'm trying to say is you must decide your dopeness.
Okay.
Number one, you must decide your dopeness. Number two, have your own references. Have people that you like. So my ideas, I pin them against different genres: fashion, music, arts, whatever, architecture, design, whatever. So all my ideas, when I have an idea, I sort of reference it and I see if it makes sense in whatever field that I like. And that's number two. So number one, make sure you like your idea, trust your dopeness. Number two, make sure you have references, something that you've seen that you like. See if your idea at least kind of hits somewhere in there. And then number three, execute.
Execute.
And how you execute, of course, you kind of have to do is it a t-shirt? Is it a song? Is it write an article? Is it a movie? You know,
make sure that you're well equipped to do. You're well informed and you're well equipped to do.
Yeah, so for me, there's ideas that I know I can't do now. I can't shoot movies now. But I know people who can shoot movies, and one day I'll learn how to pitch to someone to do a movie. I won't shoot the movie, but I have an idea of what I would like the person to. So I write it down, and I know this idea is for a movie. I can't put it on a t-shirt, or I can't put it on a podcast, or I can't put it on a mix. So that's how. So I mean, that's my kind of thinking process. But for you as a person, number one, trust your dopeness, and then trust. You know what's going to happen as well. A year from now, you look at your work, you look back at your work and think, this is so work. But you did it and it started something and you're 1 year in. And that's the best feeling ever. You know? So just start, trust your dopeness, find references, execute.
Hey, wow, absolutely. I need it now. See, that's church folk. I was about to say, amen. Slow down. Well, thank you so much for joining us sometimes. I mean, not only have you given us just as creatives, as individuals, nuggets for, getting into the game, but I know that you're on a journey. And I mean, I respect that, that you're on a journey of growth. And these aren't not like they are pro tips, but these aren't, if you do what I do, it'll work. This is what I've done, and it is, and it's advice. Advice, you filter it through who you are. But I mean, Sibusiso
that's quite
here,
important.
and it has worked. So that's what we're putting. It has actually worked. And so thank you so much for joining us for this first ever episode of Under Construction. And Sibusiso right here is Under Construction. Sibusiso, please let the people know where we can find you and where we can find your product.
Just follow, I think the best way to do this on Instagram at Sisostyles, SISO Styles. That's where everything is. Under my profile, you'll find you'll find 22 Forever Grateful. Yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. And so there you have it. You'll find him, all his brands, everything he's associated with at Sisostyles on Instagram. For any break in transmission, we apologize. I think it could have been, who we blame. Do we blame ESCOM or do we blame Telkom? We have to blame someone as a country.
we blame you, Lem. Blame you. We blame you. We blame you because you wanted to record. So you must take all the risk of recording.
Now you don't.
I'm telling you.
We want to have you back. We want to have you back. Like, don't now. You had a great interview.
I told you.
Come on, guy.
I told you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Pardon?
I told you, when you put stuff out, people will criticize. People are going to be like, but it's breaking, but we can't hear. Yeah, break. So you gotta take the blame and be like, yo, guys, is network.
I know, no, we are taking the blame. Excuse, guys. It was network. How did that feel authentic? Did it feel
No.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Under Construction. Please do like our YouTube page, Instagram, and Facebook. All of it will be under construction. And this has been our very first ever episode, and I trust that you enjoyed it. I trust that you learned something from it, and get your groove on, and maybe one day you could be under construction. Done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.